The notification sound from my phone was like a drug hit. That perfect little chime that meant someone, somewhere, was paying attention to me. I refreshed Instagram again, watching the heart count climb on my latest video. 300 likes in 2 hours. Not bad for a Tuesday night. "You're glowing," Raphael whispered in my ear as we swayed to the bass-heavy music at Club Zenith. His hands found my waist, and I let them stay there longer than I should have. The camera loved us together, him with his perfectly styled black hair and designer shirt, me in the red dress that hugged every curve I'd worked so hard to maintain. "It's the lighting," I laughed, but I knew it wasn't. It was the attention, the validation, the feeling that I was still desirable at 32. Still worth looking at. Still worth wanting. Caleb used to look at me like that, before the mortgage and the grocery lists and the endless discussions about Zoe's school schedule. Before he became this quiet, methodical man who spoke in spreadsheets and kept everything organized in little labeled folders. My phone buzzed again. A text from my coworker, Nate. "Girl, you're on fire tonight. Post another one." I giggled and held up my phone, switching to video mode. "Come on, Rafa, let's give them something to talk about." Raphael spun me around, his hands confident and warm. The music pulsed through the floor, through my body, and for 3 minutes I felt alive again. Truly alive. Not like the zombie version of myself that shuffled through breakfast preparations and work meetings and parent-teacher conferences. "That's going to break the internet," Raphael said as I posted the video with the caption, "Sometimes you have to dance like nobody's watching, even when everybody is. Hashtag living my best life, hashtag no regrets." The likes started pouring in immediately. Comments too. "Ottilie, you look amazing. Get it, girl. Who's the hottie?" I felt my cheeks flush with pleasure. This was what I'd been missing. This feeling of being seen, being appreciated, being more than just Caleb's wife or Zoe's mother. When I got home at 2 a.m., Caleb was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He looked up when I walked in, his brown eyes taking in my disheveled hair and smeared lipstick. "How was girls' night?" he asked quietly. "It was fine." I kicked off my heels and immediately felt the relief in my feet. Just needed to blow off some steam. He nodded and turned back to his screen. I could see he was working on one of his endless spreadsheets, probably tracking our household expenses or organizing our tax documents. Everything in Caleb's world had a place, a category, a proper filing system. "I'm going to bed," I announced, waiting for some kind of reaction. "Okay," he said without looking up. "I'll be up in a bit." I paused at the kitchen doorway, irritation flaring in my chest. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" Now he did look up, his expression carefully neutral. "What would you like me to say, Ottilie?" "I don't know. Maybe ask me about my night, show some interest in your wife's life." Caleb closed his laptop slowly and leaned back in his chair. "You said it was fine. You were with your sister and some friends. What else is there to know?" The way he said it made my skin prickle, like he knew something. But that was impossible. Lydia would never tell him about Raphael or the club. She thought Caleb was too controlling anyway. Always had. "Nothing," I said finally. "Just forget it." As I headed upstairs, I heard him open his laptop again. The soft clicking of keys followed me down the hallway. In the bathroom, I stared at my reflection while removing my makeup. My cheeks were still flushed, my eyes bright with excitement. I looked like a woman who'd been dancing, who'd been desired, who'd been alive. My phone buzzed with a text from Raphael. "Had an amazing time tonight. Can't wait to see you again." I smiled and typed back, "Me too, soon." Another buzz, this time from Lydia. "You looked incredible tonight. Caleb doesn't know what he has." That made me pause. What did she mean by that? I'd told her I was having problems with Caleb, that he'd become distant and cold, but I'd never explicitly said anything about Raphael. A third buzz. Nate again. "Babe, that video is going viral. 500 likes and climbing." I couldn't help myself. I opened Instagram and watched my own video again. Raphael and I looked perfect together, young and carefree and passionate. Everything Caleb and I used to be, everything we could never be again. When I finally crawled into bed, Caleb was already there, lying on his side facing away from me. The space between us felt like an ocean. "Caleb?" I whispered. "Do you ever miss how we used to be?" There was a long pause. Then, "I miss a lot of things, Ottilie." His voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear him, but there was something in it, a sadness that made my chest tighten with unexpected guilt. "Maybe we could try to—" "Go to sleep," he said, not unkindly. "We both have work tomorrow." I lay there in the dark, listening to his breathing even out as he fell asleep. My phone was still in my hand, and I found myself scrolling through the comments on my video again. Strangers telling me I was beautiful, that I deserved to be happy, that life was too short not to live it fully. They were right, weren't they? I did deserve to be happy. I deserved to feel alive and wanted and appreciated. If Caleb couldn't give me that anymore, was it really so wrong to find it somewhere else? I fell asleep with my phone still glowing in my hand, the notification sounds turned off, but the validation still coursing through my veins like the sweetest poison. The next morning, I found 2 coffee mugs on the kitchen counter instead of our usual shared pot. One had my name written on a piece of masking tape. The other had Caleb's. "What's this?" I asked, holding up my designated mug. Caleb was already dressed for work, his tie perfectly knotted, his dark hair combed precisely to the side. He looked up from his phone where he appeared to be reading emails. "I thought it might be easier this way," he said. "Less confusion about whose is whose." "Confusion? Caleb, we've been sharing coffee mugs for 8 years. He shrugged and poured coffee into his labeled mug. "Things change." The casual way he said it sent a chill down my spine. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I prefer to keep my things separate now." He took a sip of his coffee and checked his watch. "I have an early meeting. Can you handle Zoe's breakfast?" "I always handle Zoe's breakfast," I snapped. "Right. Well, I'll be home late tonight. I'm organizing some files." He kissed me on the cheek, a perfunctory peck that felt more like obligation than affection, and headed for the door. "Caleb, wait." I caught his arm. "Are we going to talk about this? About whatever this is?" His brown eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw something flicker there. Hurt, maybe. Or disappointment. "Talk about what, Ottilie?" "This weird passive-aggressive thing you're doing. The separate mugs, the distance. If you have something to say, just say it." "I don't have anything to say." He gently pulled his arm free. "I'm just trying to be more organized. You know how I like things neat and tidy." After he left, I stood in the kitchen, holding my stupid labeled mug and feeling like I'd been slapped. Zoe wandered in wearing her school uniform, her blonde hair, so much like mine, tangled from sleep. "Where's Daddy?" she asked, climbing onto her usual bar stool. "He had an early meeting." I poured cereal into her bowl, trying to keep my voice normal. "What do you want to drink? Orange juice or milk?" "Both," she said, which was her standard answer. At 8, Zoe believed in having options. As she ate, I scrolled through my phone. The video from last night had over 1,000 likes now, and the comments kept coming. Raphael had liked it, of course, along with Nate and several of my co-workers. Even some people I barely knew from high school had chimed in with fire emojis and heart eyes. But there was one comment that made me pause. "Isn't this woman married? Where's her husband?" I deleted it immediately. "Mommy, you're making a face," Zoe observed, spooning cereal into her mouth. "What kind of face?" "Like when you're mad at Daddy." Kids were too perceptive. "I'm not mad at anyone, sweetheart. Finish your breakfast so we're not late." At work, the attention continued. Nate practically bounced over to my desk the moment I sat down. "Ottilie, girl, you are trending. That video has been shared like crazy." "Really?" I tried to sound casual, but my heart was racing with excitement. "Really? And can we talk about how gorgeous you looked? That red dress was everything. Thanks. I glanced around the office, wondering if anyone else had seen it. It was just a fun night out. With Mystery Man, Nate wiggled his eyebrows. Come on, spill. Who is he? Just a friend. Uh-huh, a friend who looks at you like he wants to devour you. Heat crept up my neck. Nate, keep your voice down. Why? You're a grown woman having a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. But even as he said it, I felt a nagging discomfort. Maybe it was the way Caleb had looked at me this morning, or the comment about my husband, or the fact that I was having this conversation at work where anyone could hear. I should get started on the Morrison account, I said, turning to my computer. Fine, be mysterious. Nate perched on the edge of my desk. But you're glowing today, and I'm here for it. Whatever's making you happy, keep doing it. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of emails and phone calls, but I found myself checking my phone constantly. Raphael had texted, thinking about last night, when can I see you again? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. The smart thing would be to slow this down, to think about what I was doing. But the memory of how alive I'd felt in his arms, how beautiful I'd felt under his gaze, was intoxicating. Soon, I typed back, maybe this weekend. Can't wait, came his immediate reply, followed by a winking emoji. I was smiling at my phone when my desk phone rang. Ottilie Vane, Morrison and Associates. Hi, it's me. Caleb's voice made me jump, and I quickly minimized the text conversation. Oh, hi, what's up? I wanted to let you know I'll be working late tonight, don't wait up. Okay, what are you working on? There was a pause. Just some personal projects, organization stuff. Organization stuff? Files, records, that sort of thing. You know how I like to keep everything documented. The way he said documented made my stomach twist. Right. Well, I'll probably go to bed early anyway. Good. Oh, and Ottilie. Yeah? I moved some of my things to the guest room. I've been staying up late with this project, and I don't want to disturb your sleep. The line went quiet except for the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. You moved to the guest room? Just temporarily, until I get this project finished. What project, Caleb? What are you working on that's so important you need to sleep in a different room? Nothing dramatic, just getting our affairs in order, making sure everything is properly documented and organized. There was that word again. Documented. I have to go, he said before I could respond. I'll see you tonight. The dial tone buzzed in my ear, and I sat staring at the phone like it might explain what had just happened. Everything okay? Nate appeared at my cubicle again, his expression concerned. Yeah, fine. Just my husband being weird. Weird how? I hesitated. How could I explain that Caleb was suddenly obsessed with organization and documentation without sounding paranoid? How could I tell Nate about the separate mugs and the guest room without admitting that maybe, just maybe, I'd given Caleb a reason to be suspicious? He's just been distant lately, I said finally. Going through some kind of midlife crisis or something. Nate nodded sympathetically. Men do that. They get all introspective and weird. My ex used to reorganize the garage every time he was stressed about work. Yeah, maybe that's it. But as I turned back to my computer, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was something more than stress. The careful way Caleb had spoken, the deliberate word choices, the sudden need for separate everything, it felt calculated. It felt like preparation. That evening, I picked up Zoe from after-school care and tried to act normal. We stopped for ice cream, and I let her get extra sprinkles because I felt guilty about the tension at home. She chatted about her day, about her friend Emma's new puppy, about the art project they were working on in class. Can we show Daddy my painting when we get home? She asked as we pulled into our driveway. Daddy's working late tonight, sweetheart, but we can show him tomorrow. He's been working late a lot. I know. He's just busy with some important projects. Zoe nodded, but I could see the disappointment in her face. She adored Caleb, and he was usually the one who helped her with homework and read bedtime stories. Inside the house, I noticed immediately that several things had been moved. Caleb's reading chair was angled differently. His stack of financial magazines was gone from the coffee table. The little basket where he kept his keys and wallet had been relocated to a different spot on the kitchen counter. It was subtle, but it was there, like he was slowly, methodically separating his life from ours. After Zoe went to bed, I found myself standing outside the guest room door. I could see light underneath, and I heard the soft clicking of computer keys. I raised my hand to knock, then hesitated. What would I say? What did I want to know? Instead, I went to our bedroom, my bedroom now, apparently, and called Lydia. "Hey sis," she answered on the second ring. "What's up?" "Caleb moved to the guest room." "What? Why?" "He says it's temporary. Something about working on a project and not wanting to disturb my sleep." "That's weird. What kind of project?" "I don't know. He keeps talking about organization and documentation, making sure our affairs are in order." Lydia was quiet for a moment. "Ottilie, do you think he knows about Raphael?" My blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've been posting videos of yourself dancing with another man. You don't think Caleb might have seen them?" "He doesn't even use social media." "But other people do. Maybe someone told him. Or maybe he looked at your Instagram." I felt sick. Even if he did, it's just dancing. It's not like I'm having an affair. The words felt hollow even as I said them, because while technically true, they weren't really honest either. The way Raphael looked at me, the way I felt when I was with him, the texts we'd been exchanging, it was more than just dancing, and we both knew it. "Look," Lydia said gently, "maybe you should talk to him, clear the air." "And say what?" "Hey, honey, I've been going out dancing with a gorgeous younger man, but don't worry because we're just friends. Say whatever you need to say to fix this. You have a daughter together, Ottilie. And despite whatever problems you're having, Caleb is a good man." After we hung up, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Down the hall, I could still hear the clicking of computer keys, methodical, steady, relentless, like everything else Caleb did. The video that changed everything was posted on a Thursday night. I'd met Raphael at Zenith again, this time with a group of his friends who were visiting from Miami. The energy was electric, the music was perfect, and I felt like I was 25 again. Someone, I think it was Raphael's friend Marco, started filming as Raphael and I danced. This time, there was no mistaking it for innocent fun. Raphael's hands were lower on my waist, our bodies closer together, and when he spun me around and pulled me back against his chest, the camera caught every second of it. "You two are so hot together," Marco shouted over the music. "This is going straight to TikTok." I should have said no, should have asked him not to post it, but the music was loud, the drinks were flowing, and I felt so alive, so desired, so free. "Tag me," I called back, laughing as Raphael dipped me low. By Friday morning, it had been shared across multiple platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Suddenly, I was everywhere. The comments were a mix of admiration and judgment. "Goals! She looks amazing!" "Who is this woman? She's incredible!" "Isn't she married? This is so inappropriate." "Her poor husband." "Live your best life, queen." "This is disgusting. Where are her morals?" I was reading through them at my desk when my supervisor, Janet, appeared beside me. "Ottilie, can I see you in my office, please?" My stomach dropped. "Of course." Janet closed the door behind us and gestured for me to sit. She was a kind woman in her 50s, always professional but fair. "I've received some concerns about a video that's been circulating online," she said carefully. "A video that features you." Heat flooded my face. "Janet, I want to be clear that what you do in your personal time is your business. However, when it starts affecting the workplace environment, it becomes my concern." "How is it affecting the workplace?" "Several employees have seen the video and have been discussing it. Some clients have mentioned it as well." Janet's expression was sympathetic but firm. The video shows you in a very intimate situation with someone who, according to our records, is not your husband. I wanted to disappear into the floor. It was just dancing. Ottilie, I'm not here to judge your personal choices, but I need to ask that you be more mindful of how your online presence might reflect on the company. We represent family-oriented businesses, and our reputation matters. I understand. Good. I hope we won't need to discuss this again. As I walked back to my desk, I felt like everyone was staring at me. Nate gave me a sympathetic look, but I could see other co-workers whispering and glancing in my direction. My phone was buzzing constantly with notifications. The video had been shared over 5,000 times now, and the comments were getting more brutal. Someone needs to tell her husband. This is what's wrong with marriage today. Absolutely shameless. Get it, girl. Life's too short. Her poor child. That last comment hit me like a physical blow. Zoe, what if someone at her school saw this? What if other parents started talking? I was spiraling into panic when my phone rang. Caleb's name appeared on the screen. Hello? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Hi. I just wanted to let you know that I'll be picking up Zoe from school today. Why? I always pick her up on Fridays. I thought it might be better if I handled it today. The careful way he said it made my chest tighten. Caleb, do you know about the video? Yes, I know about the video. Silence stretched between us. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. We need to talk, I said finally. Yes, we do, but not over the phone. I'll see you at home tonight. Caleb, wait. But he'd already hung up. The rest of the day passed in a haze of anxiety and humiliation. I tried to focus on work, but every notification sound made me jump. The video kept being shared, kept gaining comments, kept spreading like wildfire through my community. At lunch, I called Lydia. Oh, Ottilie, she said as soon as she heard my voice. I saw it. Everyone's seen it, apparently. It's not as bad as you think. Lydia, my boss called me into her office. People at work are talking, and Caleb knows. What did he say? Nothing yet. He's picking up Zoe today, which he never does. And he wants to talk tonight. Maybe this is good. Maybe you can finally clear the air and work things out. Work things out? Lydia, I'm all over the internet dancing with another man. How do I work that out? By being honest. By explaining that it was just innocent fun that got blown out of proportion. But even as she said it, I knew it wasn't true. And worse, I knew Caleb would know it wasn't true. When I got home that evening, Caleb's car was already in the driveway. I sat in my own car for several minutes, trying to gather the courage to go inside. I found them in the kitchen. Zoe was at the counter doing homework, while Caleb prepared dinner. The scene was so normal, so domestic, that it made my chest ache. Hi, sweetheart, I said, kissing the top of Zoe's head. Hi, Mummy. Daddy's making spaghetti. That sounds wonderful. Caleb glanced up from the stove. How was work? The casual question threw me off balance. It was fine. Good. He went back to stirring the sauce, and I stood there feeling like an intruder in my own kitchen. Can I help with anything? I've got it handled. After dinner, Caleb helped Zoe with her math homework while I cleaned the dishes. It was like any other Friday night, except for the tension humming beneath the surface. When Zoe went upstairs to get ready for her bath, Caleb and I were finally alone. So, he said, leaning against the kitchen counter, do you want to tell me about Raphael? Hearing Raphael's name in Caleb's quiet voice was jarring. How do you know his name? It's in the comments on your video. Several people tagged him. I felt heat creep up my neck. Caleb, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You're very good at explaining things. He crossed his arms over his chest. But before you do, I want you to know that I've seen all of them. All of what? All the videos, all the photos, all the posts about your nights out. His voice remained calm, almost conversational. I've been documenting them. Documenting them? Screenshots, timestamps, locations when they're tagged. I have quite a comprehensive file now. My mouth went dry. Why would you do that? Because I wanted to be thorough. I wanted to make sure I had a complete picture before we had this conversation. Caleb, you're scaring me. I'm scaring you? For the first time, his voice showed emotion, a flash of anger that was quickly controlled. Ottilie, you've been publicly humiliating our family for weeks. You've been dancing with another man, posting it online for everyone to see, and I'm scaring you. It's just dancing. Is it? He reached into his back pocket and pulled out his phone. With a few swipes, he pulled up the video from last night. Watch this and tell me it's just dancing. I watched myself on the small screen, saw the way Raphael's hands moved over my body, saw the way I looked at him, saw the intimacy that was impossible to deny. Tell me, Caleb said quietly, what you think Zoe's teacher thought when she saw this, or our neighbors, or my co-workers. Your co-workers? Someone emailed it to me at work today, with a subject line that said, "Thought you should know." I felt like I might be sick. Caleb, I'm sorry. Are you sleeping with him? The direct question hit me like a slap. No. But you want to. I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come, because he was right, and we both knew it. I see. Caleb nodded slowly. Well, at least you're not lying about that too. I haven't lied to you. Haven't you? When you said you were having girls' nights with Lydia, were you with Raphael? Sometimes, but... When you said you were going out with co-workers, were you with Raphael? Not every time. When you posted that first video and I asked you about it, and you said it was harmless fun with friends, was Raphael there? I couldn't answer, couldn't look at him. I thought so. Caleb put his phone away. Well, Ottilie, I want you to know that I appreciate your honesty now. It makes what comes next much easier. What comes next? But before he could answer, Zoe called from upstairs. Daddy, I'm ready for my bath. I'll be right there, sweetheart, he called back. Then, to me, we'll finish this conversation later. As he headed upstairs, I stood alone in the kitchen, my hands shaking. I pulled out my phone and stared at the video that had started this nightmare. In the harsh light of Caleb's questions, it looked different, cheaper, more tawdry. I looked like a woman having an affair, because that's exactly what I was becoming. Saturday morning, I woke up alone. Caleb's side of the bed was undisturbed, which meant he'd spent the night in the guest room again. I could hear him downstairs with Zoe, their voices mixing with the sound of Saturday morning cartoons. When I finally made it to the kitchen, I found them eating pancakes at the counter. Caleb was dressed casually in jeans and a polo shirt, but something about his posture seemed different, more alert, more purposeful. Morning, I said, reaching for the coffee pot. Good morning, Mummy, Zoe chirped. Daddy made Mickey Mouse pancakes. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I poured coffee into my labeled mug. When had I started accepting that as normal? And noticed that Caleb had several manila folders stacked neatly beside his laptop. What are those? I asked, nodding toward the folders. Just some paperwork I need to organize. He didn't look up from cutting Zoe's pancakes. I'm going to spend the day getting our files in order. What files? Household documents, financial records, insurance policies, that sort of thing. The way he said it, so matter-of-fact, made my skin crawl. Why now? It's good to be prepared. He finally looked at me, his brown eyes unreadable. You never know when you might need everything documented properly. There was that word again. Documented. After breakfast, Caleb disappeared into his home office with his folders and laptop. I could hear him in there, occasionally talking on the phone in low voices. When I walked past the door, I caught fragments of conversation. Yes, I have all the documentation. The timeline is very clear. I'll need copies of everything. Around noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I knocked on the office door. Come in. I found Caleb sitting at his desk, surrounded by papers, folders, and printed documents. His laptop screen showed what looked like a spreadsheet with dates and notes. "What is all this?" I asked. "I told you, I'm organizing our files." I stepped closer and saw my name on several of the folder tabs. Ottilie, social media. Ottilie, timeline. Ottilie, statements. "Why do you have folders with my name on them?" Caleb leaned back in his chair and studied me. "Because I like to be thorough. When situations become complicated, it's important to have a clear record of events." "Situations? Caleb, what are you talking about?" He opened one of the folders and pulled out a stack of printed screenshots, my Instagram posts, my TikTok videos, comments from various social media platforms, all organized chronologically with dates and timestamps. "This is from your first night out with Raphael," he said, pointing to a printout. "March 15th. You posted this video at 11:47 p.m. with the caption, 'Dancing the Night Away.' You told me you were having dinner with Lydia." My mouth went dry. "You printed out my social media posts." "This one is from March 22nd, he continued, flipping to another page. "Another video with Raphael, posted at 1:23 a.m. Caption, 'Life is too short not to dance.' You came home at 2:15 a.m. and told me the restaurant had slow service." "Caleb, this is crazy." "This one is from March 29th, April 5th, April 12th. He fanned out the papers like playing cards. 15 separate occasions where you posted content featuring Rafael Moreno while telling me you were somewhere else." Hearing Raphael's full name in Caleb's methodical voice was chilling. "You looked him up?" "I looked up everything. His social media profiles, his place of employment, his relationship history. Very thorough documentation." I felt like the walls were closing in. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I needed to understand what was happening to my marriage." Caleb's voice remained calm, but I could see tension in his jaw. "I needed to know if I was imagining things or if my wife was actually having an affair." "I'm not having an affair." "No, you're not. Not yet." He pulled out another folder. "But according to your text messages, you're planning to." My blood turned to ice. "My text messages?" "We share a phone plan, Ottilie. All the records are available online." He opened the folder and pulled out printed pages. "Here's a conversation from Thursday night. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Maybe we can finally have some real alone time." That's from Raphael. Your response: "I've been thinking the same thing. I'm ready for more than dancing." I wanted to disappear, to sink through the floor and never come back. "You're spying on me." "I'm protecting myself. And our daughter." Caleb closed the folder and looked at me directly. I needed evidence of what was really happening before I made any decisions. Decisions about what? About how to proceed. Proceed with what, Caleb? He was quiet for a long moment, studying my face. "You really don't understand, do you?" "Understand what?" "Ottilie, you've been publicly humiliating our family for weeks. You've been lying to me, sneaking around with another man, and planning to have an affair. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences?" "I never meant for any of this to happen, but it did happen, and now I have to decide what to do about it." I sank into the chair across from his desk, my legs suddenly unsteady. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I've been very careful to document everything properly. Dates, times, evidence, witnesses. I've been thorough and methodical, just like I am with everything else." "Witnesses?" "Your co-workers who've seen the videos. Zoe's teachers who've heard other parents talking. My colleagues who've been sent the links." He gestured to the folders. "It's all here. A complete timeline of events." "Caleb, please." "I want you to understand something very clearly," he said, his voice still maddeningly calm. "I didn't go looking for this. I wasn't suspicious or paranoid. You handed me all of this evidence by posting it online for the world to see." He was right, and that made it worse. I had documented my own betrayal, shared it publicly, made it impossible to deny. "What do you want?" I whispered. I want you to think very carefully about what you do next. Caleb closed his laptop and stacked the folders neatly. Because I want you to know that whatever happens from here, I'll be ready for it. Ready for what? Whatever comes next. That afternoon I called Lydia in a panic. He has everything, I told her, pacing around my bedroom. Screenshots, text messages, a complete timeline. It's like he's building a case against me. A case for what? I don't know. He keeps talking about being prepared and making decisions and having everything documented. It's terrifying. Ottilie, calm down. Maybe he's just hurt and trying to understand what happened. No, this is more than that. This is systematic, calculated. What are you going to do? I don't know. Cancel my plans with Raphael, I guess. Try to fix this somehow. That's probably smart. But even as I said it, I felt a stab of resentment. Why should I have to cancel my plans? Why should I have to live like a prisoner in my own marriage? I was 32 years old, and I deserved to feel alive and desired and happy, didn't I? That evening, Caleb made dinner for the family, like nothing had happened. He helped Zoe with a puzzle, read her a bedtime story, and tucked her in with the same gentle patience he'd always shown. When he came back downstairs, I was waiting for him in the living room. We need to talk about this, I said. I thought we did. Caleb, I'm sorry. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling or... Can we? He sat down across from me, his expression thoughtful. Ottilie, do you want to work through this? Of course I do. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been trying to work your way out of this marriage for weeks. That's not true. Isn't it? You've been lying to me, spending time with another man, posting videos that make it clear you're available and interested. What exactly were you working toward? I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come, because deep down, I knew he was right. I had been working my way out of our marriage, one dance, one lie, one posted video at a time. I just wanted to feel alive again, I said finally. And you couldn't feel alive with me. We've grown apart, Caleb. You know we have. Have we? Or have you just decided that I'm not enough anymore? The question hung in the air between us. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that it wasn't about him not being enough. But looking at him sitting there in his neat polo shirt, with his careful questions and his organized folders, I realized that maybe it was exactly about that. Maybe I had decided he wasn't enough. I think, Caleb said quietly, that you've already made your choice. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet. What do you mean? I mean you can't have both, Ottilie. You can't have a marriage and an affair. You can't have a family and a fantasy. You have to choose. I choose you, I said quickly. I choose our family. Do you? Because if you really meant that, you would have chosen us weeks ago, before the videos, before Raphael, before you turned our private life into public entertainment. He stood up and headed toward the stairs. Where are you going? To bed, in the guest room. He paused at the bottom of the stairs. I think you should take some time to figure out what you really want, because whatever you decide, I'll be ready for it. As he disappeared upstairs, I sat alone in the living room, surrounded by the remnants of our life together. Family photos on the mantel, Zoe's artwork on the refrigerator, the couch where we used to watch movies together. Everything looked the same, but it felt different, like I was seeing it all through Caleb's organized, documented lens, like I was seeing the evidence of everything I was about to lose. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. I was getting ready for work when the doorbell rang, and I found a courier standing on our front porch with a clipboard and a thick manila envelope. Ottilie Vane? Yes. I need you to sign for this. My hands were shaking as I signed my name. The envelope was heavy, official-looking, with the return address of a law firm I didn't recognize. Inside, I found papers with legal headings and formal language that made my blood run cold. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Temporary custody arrangements. Division of assets. Caleb was divorcing me. I sank onto the couch, the papers scattered around me, and tried to process what I was seeing. The petition was thorough, methodical, and devastating. It outlined irreconcilable differences and breakdown of the marital relationship, but attached to it were exhibits that told the real story. Exhibit A, screenshots of my social media posts, organized chronologically. Exhibit B, text message records showing conversations with Raphael. Exhibit C, witness statements from co-workers and acquaintances who had seen the videos. Exhibit D, documentation of my lies about whereabouts and activities. It was everything from his folders, everything he'd been organizing and documenting, now formatted into legal language that made it sound even worse than it was. My phone buzzed with a text from Caleb. "We need to talk tonight. I'll be home at 6. I called in sick to work and spent the day reading through the papers over and over again. The proposed custody arrangement gave Caleb primary custody of Zoe, with me getting every other weekend and one evening per week. The asset division split everything down the middle, but there were provisions about the house that I didn't understand. At exactly 6 p.m., Caleb walked through the front door. He looked tired but determined, like a man who had made a difficult decision and was seeing it through. "Where's Zoe?" I asked. "At your mother's. I thought we should have this conversation privately." "When did you file these papers?" "Yesterday." He sat down across from me, the same spot where we'd had so many conversations over the years. "I wanted you to see them before you heard about it from anyone else." "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the first video went viral. I started consulting with an attorney about a week after that." "A week? Caleb, why didn't you tell me you were thinking about divorce?" "Because I wanted to see what you would do. I wanted to give you a chance to stop this on your own." "But I did stop it. I haven't seen Raphael since that night at the club." "No, you haven't seen him. But you've been texting with him, planning to see him. And more importantly, you haven't stopped because you realized what you were doing was wrong. You stopped because you got caught. He was right, and we both knew it. I had been planning to see Raphael again. I had been ready to take things further." "The papers say you want primary custody," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I do." "Caleb, you can't take Zoe away from me." "I'm not taking her away. I'm providing her with a stable home environment." "I'm her mother." "Yes, you are. And you're also a woman who's been publicly documenting an affair while lying to your family." His voice remained calm, but I could see the pain in his eyes. "Do you think that's the kind of environment Zoe should be in?" "It wasn't an affair." "Ottilie, stop, please." Caleb leaned forward. "We both know what this was. We both know where it was heading. The only reason it didn't become a physical affair is because I intervened." I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come, because he was right about that too. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I want you to sign the papers. And if I don't, then we'll go to court, and a judge will decide based on the evidence I've gathered." He gestured to the exhibits. "All of this will become public record. Zoe's classmates' parents will read about it. Your co-workers will be called as witnesses. Raphael will be deposed about your relationship." The thought of it all being aired in public made me feel sick. "You'd really do that?" "I don't want to, but I will if I have to. This is blackmail. No, this is consequence. This is what happens when private choices become public behavior." We sat in silence for several minutes. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantel, the same clock we'd received as a wedding gift 8 years ago. "I need time to think," I said finally. "You have until Friday. If you sign the papers and agree to the terms, we can file for an uncontested divorce. It'll be quick and relatively private. And if I don't, then my attorney files a contested petition on Monday and everything becomes public." "Caleb, please. I'm not trying to hurt you, Ottilie. I'm trying to protect our daughter and preserve what's left of our family's dignity." "Our family? We won't be a family anymore." "We stopped being a family the night you decided Raphael was more important than your marriage." The truth of it hit me like a physical blow. Because he was right. I had chosen Raphael over my family, over my marriage, over everything I'd built with Caleb. I just hadn't admitted it to myself until now. I made mistakes, I whispered. Yes, you did. And now we both have to live with the consequences. That night, I called everyone. Lydia, my mother, even Nate. Everyone had the same reaction. Shock, followed by the inevitable question of whether I was going to fight it. You can't just give up, Lydia said. You have rights. You're Zoe's mother. He has evidence, Lydia. Screenshots, text messages, witness statements. If this goes to court, it'll all come out. But you didn't actually have an affair. I was planning to. The text messages make that clear. That's not the same thing, isn't it? In the eyes of a judge, what's the difference between planning an affair and having one? My mother was more direct. You made your bed, Ottilie. Now you have to lie in it. Thanks for the support, Mom. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. You humiliated your husband publicly, lied to your family, and carried on with another man. What did you think was going to happen? I don't know what I thought. You thought you could have your cake and eat it too. Well, now you know better. By Thursday night, I still hadn't signed the papers. I kept reading through them, looking for some loophole, some way out that wouldn't destroy what was left of my life. But the more I read, the more I realized that Caleb had been thorough. Every detail was accounted for, every possibility covered. He'd been planning this carefully, methodically, just like he planned everything else. And he'd been planning it while I was dancing with Raphael, posting videos, and lying to myself about what I was doing. Friday morning, I found Caleb in the kitchen making coffee. He looked up when I walked in, his expression carefully neutral. Have you made a decision? He asked. I set the signed papers on the counter between us. I have one condition, I said. What's that? I asked, staring at the papers. I want to tell Zoe myself, Caleb said, together, one last time as a family. His composure cracked for a second, revealing the hidden pain. Okay. We filed Monday morning, then we became divorced parents. That afternoon we took Zoe to the park. She played while we sat on the bench, rehearsing words that would shatter her world. She'll blame herself, I whispered. No, we'll make it clear, adult problems, not her fault. That evening on the couch we explained gently. Zoe asked practical questions. Where she'd sleep, if sleepovers could continue. Will you and Daddy still be friends? We'll always be your parents, I said. We'll work together for you. After she slept, Caleb and I sat in silence. I keep thinking about our wedding day, I said. How sure we were. We made it 8 years. Not what I meant. I know. He stood. We can't go back, Ottilie. Only forward. I'm sorry. For everything. I know. But sorry doesn't fix trust. Monday at the courthouse felt surreal. Papers signed, fees paid, 60-day wait. We walked out, no longer a couple, just co-parents with shared history. Consequences arrived swiftly. Cramped apartment far from Zoe's school, vanished couple friends, Zoe's struggles, tears, meltdowns, school counselor visits. Raphael appeared at the grocery store, charming as ever. You're free now. Free felt empty, limited custody, explanations, regret. Counseling helped slowly. Zoe learned divorce didn't end love. Caleb softened toward co-parenting. You're doing better, he acknowledged after one session. The divorce finalized automatically. Caleb texted, It's official, you okay? I'm okay, you? Okay too. A year later, at Zoe's Christmas concert, we sat together, watched her sing, then got ice cream. Zoe beamed. I like when we're all together. We'll always be together for important things, Caleb told her, especially divorced families. We just work harder. We weren't married, weren't in love, but we were something better. Parents who'd learned, painfully, to put Zoe first. Consequences taught what apologies couldn't. And maybe that was enough.